There's a threat in the world today. A threat to our way of living, a threat to our society, and maybe even a threat to our very existence. And what is this threat?
For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world.
He is the one.
I am.
I am the ass.
He is.
And we are Black and White Sports.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
I'm supposed to be a franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice.
How am I not found the best fighter in the world? You tell me. Because you're retired?
I mean, I want to see your face when you're asking this question and the way you're going to ask it. Look a man in the eye before you try to kill him or make up something.
He went through my soul.
Hey, I'm not surprised.
What is going on, BW Sports One World? That guy right there, he's the one in his Cookie Monster shirt. This guy right here,
Cookie.
wow, I am the ass. And together we are Black and White Sports, powered by First Financial Bank. Check out John.buzzard over there at First Financial Bank, 317-417-8582, or email him, John.buzzard at bankatfirst.com, and our Rockstar Realtor himself, Mr. Shawn Nugent, at Talk to Tucker, 317-503-8322, or shawn.nugent at talktotucker.com. Damon, welcome to Taco Tuesday.
I'm not impressed.
Well, whatever. Are you ever impressed with me?
No, I'm not ever impressed. I'm never
All
impressed. Right. Especially when you got that crap on your helmet or your hat.
I'm just trying to remember when the last time you won a Super Bowl and the last time these guys won a Super Bowl. Oh, that's right. Before. I don't care how many. I finally got
that's the only thing. That's all you can say is I don't care how many. See, when you put the words,
I don't care how many.
When you put the words, how many?
I mean, at least you're not a Dallas fan that you're talking from 25 years ago. Okay,
yeah,
I got respect.
You're still sitting at the kiddie table. You're still sitting at the kiddie table.
Nope, not anymore.
Oh no, you're at the kiddie table.
I'm at the high school table. I'm at the high school table.
No,
There's
high school you need three. You need three
come
in high
on.
school.
Whatever.
You need three.
Anyway, dang.
What?
This is a wonderful Taco Tuesday because we got a West Coaster in the house with us. So, without further ado, let's bring him in. What do you think, Damon?
Hey, I'm good with it.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Black and White Sports proudly presents to you the one, the only, Rudy Reyes.
Hey, what's going on, guys? How are you? Thanks for coming in. I wanted to chime in there. You're talking about the one that's won the most recently. Well, there's only one, and there's only one team that was first to six, and those are the Pittsburgh Steelers. So let me just clarify that right off the bat.
I'm so glad the lighting sucks right there so we can't see the crap on your head.
Special edition, baby. Special edition. Spell it out.
All you need to see is the diamonds. Once you see the three diamonds, that's all you need to know.
That's all you need to know. That's right. Put it all out there. Put it all out on the line. Thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for hosting me today. There's a lot of sports to get to, a lot of miscues, a lot of problems, especially in Major League Baseball. My gosh, where do you start?
Well,
we got it on the list. I guarantee you we got it on the list.
It's a laundry list. It must be.
Oh, yeah. It always is when you're talking about baseball and the money-hungry mongrels over there in the MLB. But, Rudy, let's give the BW Sports One fans a look inside of Rudy Reyes. So we have the owner of Rude Dog Entertainment and the host of the Rude Dog Show. So let's give us a little bio on yourself.
It started at the age of 40. So 40 years old, I had woken up. At the time I was working at a retail establishment that will not have a name served on this show or any other show for that matter. And I just decided I wanted to do something more. I want to do something more dynamic. And as a young buck, if you will, I kind of didn't have a voice. Growing up, I come from a singing family. So with that singing came the vocality, came the ability for me to kind of find who I was, where I wanted to go, how I wanted to do it. I've had some successes along the way, just like anybody else in broadcast. I've also had some pitfalls as well. As everybody knows, if you go to the RudeDogShow.com, there's a little bit of bio about me. But at the age of 40 years old, I went into broadcasting. Because I'm a diehard Steelers fan, I decided to interview nothing but Steeler players, current as well as former. One of my first Steeler interviews ever was Jerome Bettis, and six all-time leading rusher. At least he was. He got passed up by someone, but it is what it is.
Now you said that name. I can get down with the bus because I am an Irish fan. So,
well, Jerome Bettis, probably one of the best acquisitions for the Steelers when the Rams decided to go ahead and trade him off. And of course, we know the rest is history. After winning that ring in his hometown of Detroit, Michigan, home of the winless Lions that continue to be winless. But yeah, it's neither here nor there. So
message
received. Check, please. So I decided to kind of try my luck, put my feelers out there. I had interviews with the Los Angeles Lakers as an in-arena host. I had interviews with at the time, the Oakland Raiders, now the Las Vegas Raiders. And after that, I just decided to venture out and acquired it's such a long way from home when you're talking about Cheyenne, Wyoming. So I kind of went full circle all the way from sunny Southern California to going to snow and don't know how to drive in the snow and never really been a part of snow in Cheyenne, Wyoming. So I work for KGWN out there as a sports reporter. And unless you've been on the beat at football games when it's 20 degrees outside, you forgot your gloves and you have a camera you have to record vote for and maybe even create a VOSOT when you're done, then you have not been there, done that. It's not the easiest profession, but it's very rewarding. And with that, here comes some of the successes. Whereas I've covered the NFL draft, interviewed Lamar Jackson, I've interviewed Minka Fitzpatrick, I've interviewed Vita Vea, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Van Der Esch for the Dallas Cowboys. The list just goes on and on and on. So for me, and I could go over 7 years of dialogue and where I've been and all that good stuff, but I think that kind of surmises where I'm at professionally, and just got a position working for CBS 47 here in Fresno, California.
Nice.
Today, in fact.
Well, congratulations.
So, thanks. I definitely appreciate that.
Was this the sneak preview of that right here?
It was. I decided to put it all on Front Street for you guys. So
there you go.
You're going to enjoy and bask in the ambiance. I don't know. I can't think of it.
Well, I'm glad to know that both of my colleagues here tonight are old enough to witness all 6 of your rings. Damon, go ahead.
I am old enough. Didn't say that I witnessed all 6, but I am old enough for all 6.
Shots fired. That's right, baby.
Yeah.
I'm ducking.
He hit every one of my questions.
Man, he did. He goes there. I was looking at the notes. I'm like, damn, Damon might be out.
There's one more question that you could ask me, but unless you've done the background on it, you wouldn't know. So in 2014, I had the ability to attend Steelers training camp, not only as a fan for the first 2 days while I was in Latrobe, not Latrobe, it's Latrobe for those that don't know, never been there, done that. And then the very last day of training camp at St. Vincent in Latrobe, it was Troy Polamalu's last training camp with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Antonio Brown was just getting his feet underneath him before he lost his brain a few years later. And matter of fact, that was one of my first character interviews in front of someone was Heath Miller, as well as Ryan Shazier in his rookie year. And I got nothing but love for Ryan Shazier. I'm telling you right now, there are many players with many stories throughout this league. Been there, done
one
that.
Downfall.
Yep, it was against Cincinnati Bengals, and I watched that game.
No. His only downfall. You can go by a wall and tell me what his only downfall was.
His only downfall was that he tackled his helmet.
No, that too is that he went to OSU.
I don't know
He went-
I don't know if that's an issue necessarily. He's one of the
Yeah,
smartest
for me.
guys you'll probably ever meet. He's got an IQ of 125, so I wouldn't put anything past the guy. But when I asked him about that, he was very strategic in his answer. He said, "No, really? That's what they say? Come on, Ryan, you know." So with that, the very last day that I was there, I had a chance to have a photo taken of me that I didn't know existed until I'm leaving out of Pittsburgh, and I'm about to get on a plane. And sure enough, this ex-constituent of mine says, "Hey man, did you look at your Twitter timeline? Did you look at Steelers.com?" I said, "Why? I haven't looked there recently." And sure enough, if you go to RudeDogShow.com, you're going to see that photo very proudly placed. I might add with Heath Miller and excuse me, it wasn't Heath Miller, it was Greg Warren. It was the former long snapper for the Steelers, and of course former tight end, walking away from the last day of training camp, and there I am on the left hand side. So
I did see that.
Yeah. So it was Matt Spaeth. Forgive me. And of course, me and Matt just connected on Facebook. So I'm trying to see if he'd kind of want to dive into the Steeler closet, if you will, the black and gold closet, to talk about some things while he was in Pittsburgh. So we'll see.
There you go.
See what happens. But that's kind of the overall synopsis of where I've been and what I've done. And my ultimate goal is to be on NFL Network. So I'm really looking forward to possibly getting within those confines if we have a football season, if Major League Baseball doesn't screw it up first.
Big if.
So yeah, and then you say that, and I have a note down here that we're not going to talk a lot of football today because there's not a lot to talk about. And I figured, since he's a football guy, if we have a football season, which I seriously doubt, we can bring him back, and then we can talk all football on that show.
Oh, certainly, absolutely. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Bring it on.
Good deal.
So my last question about you and your bio, I don't know if Dan's got something, but my last one would be, being from sunny Southern California, it looks like you were born and raised out there. And like myself, no attachments to Pittsburgh whatsoever. How did you become a Steeler fan?
Well, I'd grown up in the Bradshaw era. I had grown up around watching them take it to the LA Rams, taking it to the Minnesota Vikings, and time again, you can't win every battle, but what you can win are the wins that you can control, and that's with great defense. And so that was something that I had watched growing up as a young man, and decided that the logos on the side of the helmet wasn't just a logo at all. There's history behind that. Once I was able to really inform myself and educate myself about what those hypocycloids meant, yes, that's a long word, hypocycloids. Once I figured out what those colors meant, which is the color of steel, that was really huge back in the 60s and 70s in the great former steel town of the Pittsburgh Steelers, conceived in 1933, bought with different types of monies from various business ventures by Mr. Rudy himself and the chief, as we like to call him. For me, it just kind of helped solidify. And then furthermore, to add to this, the gentleman on the plane, Flight 93, that crashed on my birthday outside of Pittsburgh in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, was from Pittsburgh. And he decided to take it upon himself in an act of heroism, selflessly giving his own life to help take that plane down so it didn't ravage any more buildings and kill any more people.
Wow. That's that's history. That's definitely a part of history that nobody likes to remember, but doesn't want to forget, I should say.
All those details of the Steelers, I had no idea.
No. But for me, it's more of a personal, thing, because most people don't want to talk about 9/11. Most people don't even want to talk about COVID. They don't want to talk about the hard topics. The questions that happen to come up more often than not is, ouch, or wow, or I didn't know that. Well, how could you have known unless you asked, or at least I offered the information. Sometimes uncomfortable topics need to be talked about so that way we can learn from history. We can learn from the things that we have done in our life, or things that have been done to us, rather. And sure enough, that's kind of where I'm at right now, understanding that 9/11 is more than just happened, everything that transpired on that day, it was certainly my birthday first and foremost. But it's still one of those things that's kind of hard to get away from at times. Of course, my birthday is right around the corner now, so I'm kind of on the downhill slalom, if you will.
You're knocking on the door, aren't you?
Yeah, just knocking it ever so slightly. just
All right,
just a
so-
little love tap.
It happens.
A little bit. It's close. It's closely approaching. All right, let's get into some baseball talk. I guess we'll go ahead and get Dan's Reds out the way. You know,
Hey,
this following weekend was opening day. You know, they had a lot of exciting headlines and low lines and things like that. But let's go ahead and get the Reds out the way.
I just want to ask Rudy, what do you think of Mr. Trevor Bauer?
Trevor Bauer. You know, there's one thing about Trevor Bauer that I do like is his 90-mile-an-hour fastball. That's one of the things that I like about Trevor Bauer. But more importantly, we get lost in numbers. We get lost in his winning percentage. We get lost in his ERA. What really makes me kind of look at the Reds and I look at Bauer. You know, he's from my neck of the woods. He's a SoCal guy. So I got to give love to a SoCal guy. Me and him are the same height. I obviously weigh a little bit more than him, but not much. He's not making a chunk of change out in Cincinnati. But what I do like about him is the things that he's done off field, contributes to his community. He's a family guy. He's well versed. He's well spoken. Not that his ERA, and not to take anything away from his numbers to reflect anything that he has or has not done on the mound, but I really just appreciate who he is, what he's done, and you can put all the numbers in there all you want. It doesn't make a person who he is. But the bottom line to all this is even though they lost to Detroit yesterday 3-2, it just makes you wonder. And you look at the Reds in the situation where no team, and this is historical fact, no team in Major League Baseball has ever started and been perfect. And especially now that we're at a 60-plus game season, of course, including the playoffs, postseason, one of those things that kind of makes the Reds really stand out. He was quoted as saying that it sucks. They had a chance to win. They blew it. Some teams do. I'm a Pirates fan. That team seems to blow it every single year for the last 25 years, and it's one of those heartbreak situations. But at the same token, because they have, I mean, you can make all excuses for the Reds all you want, and the fact that they lost yesterday, but no excuse is greater than saying that they have a bigger payroll and they know how to draft. Whereas the Pirates don't have that large of a payroll and their draft prospects. I'm going to have Jack Hartman on, as a matter of fact, Monday, who was just drafted by the Pirates, right-hand pitcher, very low ERA in college. And of course, one of those guys you're going to have to look out for. Or the Pirates are never going to pay big money for anybody. I don't care who it is. It's almost as if the same concept travels around Pittsburgh, right? Because we look at the Steelers and we think, well, they have the money, they just don't want to spend it. Well, that may very well be true, but they don't overspend either. They make sure that they put the right people in the right position to make the right amount of money for their respective positions. Same thing with the Pirates. But back to Trevor Bauer, he has a 1.47 ERA, okay? And that's not to take anything away from what he's done, but I look for him to get a little bit better as far as the strike zone and being able to wind up. And I know I've seen some crazy windups with Cueto, who likes to stand on his left foot and kind of triggers and looks around before he throws that 98-mile-an-hour fastball or two-seam fastball right down the middle. So I think Bauer really has a bright future ahead of him. And I think that when you look forward to where his career is headed, as long as he continues to collectively work on that pitch, to work on off mound, as well as just putting a lot of practice in, I think Trevor Bauer is going to be a superstar in Cincinnati for some time to come.
I agree.
All right, since we're talking about pitchers here, and you did mention college, so we have to come up with this topic that we've had several times talking about baseball. Neither one of us are fans of the DH. We just want to know why all of a sudden you come from biddy league to travel league to school league to college league, and then all of a sudden you get to the pros and you don't know how to hit anymore. I don't get it.
I don't know. There's good and there's bad to the DH, and it depends on what league you're in, right? So if you're in AL, okay, maybe you're in the NL. No, I don't want it. I don't need it. It's been the fall cry. Matter of fact, I had Lenny Dykstra on my show about a year and a half ago, and he was never sent to be the DH, of course, but he was always the consummate professional, even though he didn't agree with the DH stand, and he made it very well known,
widely known.
Well, yeah, he made it well known, and there's no reason why you should have a DH, to be perfectly honest with you. And to be honest, to go further than that, because you have the runner in extras at second base, I don't think the DH should even be a part of the game at this juncture. Try it out not having it. See what it looks like. It's a truncated season anyway. Try it out next year. You have the extra runner at second, which makes the contest obviously a lot more dynamic, regardless of what team is, defense or offense. But just go without the DH for right now. Am I a huge fan of the DH? Not necessarily, but I can see where the benefits lie for those teams that use a DH. These NL teams that like to use the DH. The AL teams, they're kind of, well, sure, yeah, right. I, to be honest with you, I'm not really a fan of the shift either, to be perfectly frank with you.
I'm not a fan of the shift either.
I'm not a fan of the shift because that gives you time to get to it's almost as if you're calling an audible at the line of scrimmage in football. Mm-hmm. And what's really interesting, it reminds me of a George Carlin set, but I'm not going to go there. But there are differences between baseball and football, right? So you call an audible at the line, you call an audible for a shift, which is ultimately the very same thing, because now you're shifting in motion. You can have an offset line, having another guard on the left, right? So it's now an outweighed side. And as far as the shift is concerned, not very good either, because again, you're moving people out of position and you're throwing the batter off guard. I just don't think, I'm not a fan of the shift. I probably never will. I'm less of a fan of the shift than I am the DH. I'll put it that way.
See, my theory on the shift is you're not as great as a hitter as you think you are, or we think you are. If you're at the top level, the very top level, and you got 6 guys on this side of the field and you got 2 guys over here and you can't hit a ball over there, you don't need to be at the top level. You are supposed to be some of the best hitters ever. You place the ball wherever you want to place it. I don't understand how you can't do it. So I feel, because there's certain hitters that they don't do that to. You don't shift Mookie Betts.
Right.
You know what I mean? You should.
Well, see, in my opinion, that's just strategy there. That's a lot more strategy in that than putting a DH in for your pitcher at the plate.
The DH is for the fat guy in the American League that don't want to get in shape.
Isn't that why Albert Pujols stayed in the league so long?
At least the NL,
after he left with St. Louis. No, I'm not saying, I'm not down in Pujols, but.
No, he made the right move. He went to Los Angeles. He trimmed down. He's looking really good right now. He's physically, ready to rock and roll. Was he a little chunky every once in a while? Yeah, of course he was. But
as my mom said, husky.
Where's your mom? I want to talk to her.
Man.
No, so I just think that if you're gonna use that DH, make it count. Make something fantastic, phenomenal happen on that very play. Don't use a DH because someone's 265 pounds and they should only be 200. Give them look. It's an equal playing field, literally and figuratively. I don't care for the DH, and I don't like the fact that it's still being utilized.
I agree. We can agree on the DH.
Yes, we can.
Agree to disagree on the shift.
All right, let's bring it back to a little closer to time on Major League Baseball. So we finally got into this 60-game season, which I think the negotiations was drawn out way too far, and I think it put a bad taste and a sour taste in fans' mouth, because we got rich people fighting over rich people problems when poor people are becoming poorer. So who do you think was more at fault of this bad negotiation between the players union and the owners?
You know, that really goes back to a Rob Manfred question. He clearly dropped the literal ball when it comes to running all of this. You don't expect owners of Major League Baseball organizations to say, you know what, this is an issue, this is a problem, this is where we're at, this is how we're going to handle it, this is what we need to do. You can almost think the players who practically just said, you know what, forget it. We're not going to bother. No face masks. They're going to do the fist bumps. They're going to sit close to each other like a can of sardines. They're going to avoid all the rules. I'm a young stud. It's not going to happen to me. COVID does not discriminate. Okay, I don't care how old you are or how young you are. But the fact that Rob Manfred still did not come out until earlier, matter of fact, an hour ago, I think he had a press conference in regards to all this, this Miami Marlins game tonight, canceled or at least postponed, at least for the foreseeable future. Of course, probably a makeup game somewhere down the line. Maybe. We'll see. If you're the opposing team, you don't want to go into this locker room. Are you kidding me? You don't want to take a chance.
The Yankees were not going.
Yeah, exactly. And they said, you know what? We're not going to do this. It ain't going to happen. And of course, the Phillies themselves also are very, every team, every player that does not have nothing but veterans on it, which the Yankees actually do have plenty of veterans on it, even though they may be 2 or 3 year veterans in Stanton and Judge, and you have your old viejitos, out there, Gardner, who's still playing to this day. I don't even know why he's still playing, but he's doing it because he loves the game. Gardner's not like the home run guy you expect him to be, but moreover, it's about him getting on base, and he's got great ribby skills. He really does. You can put someone on second or third, and he's just going to move the ball. He's not going to hit a home run. He's just going to move the ball, and that's really all you do. You find the gap, you shoot the gap, and you're done. And you're on base to bring somebody home. If you sack fly out, oh well, so be it. It's just the way that's just the way the cookie crumbles. But I think Rob Manfred did not set the tone. Do you say that the negotiations take a little bit longer than it should have? Absolutely. Look, Zoom phone calls don't count. Text messages don't count. Shooting up flares or lighting up smoke signals is not going to get it done. You're not going to get a deal done at all. Moreover, when you look at finally him being able to sit down with Clark of Major League Baseball Players Association, you know what? This is what we need to do. This is a must do. We got to get it done. And sure enough, that's really all it took, is for him to show face, literally and figuratively, to sit down and go over this to make this now a reality. The problem is that you can't take a back seat to all of this and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, out of complete utter randomness, say, oh, well, I'm the big voice in the room now. All of a sudden, hear me. No, it doesn't work that way. You have to be the forefront and the face of your organization. Take a page out of Roger Goodell's book, excuse me. You could take a page out of Adam Silver's book as well, being proactive instead of reactive. And I think that's the biggest issue that people are having with Rob Manfred right now. And with this outbreak situation, is it being contained? Well, we hope so. Is it the end of the Major League Baseball season when we're just in its truncated infancy? And I hate using that word all the time, but that's really what it boils down to. The answer to that is no, I don't think so. I still believe Major League Baseball will go on. They're going to find a way to curtail this and really get people involved and help these youngins who don't have anything at stake. If they don't have kids, they don't have family, they're only putting themselves in jeopardy. Then again, you look at guys like Mike Trout. Mike Trout himself decided, you know what? I think I'm going to go ahead and play. After all, I really think that we're going to have I'm going to have a season. It's going to be fun. I'm going to enjoy it. He's got 2 kids. He's got a baby on the way. Why would he put himself?
Just at it.
Exactly.
Just at it.
Exactly. So why would he want to put himself and his family at risk, knowing the circumstances? Can he opt out? Sure. Is he going to take less money? Yeah, maybe. But at the cost of what? Not getting someone else infected when all he has to do is get treated for it and basically serve 14 days of quarantine time where he can Zoom with his own family, I don't blame him if he did opt out, to be quite honest with you, or any of these other veterans. Albert Pujols, we were just talking about. These guys who have vested interests, vested families involved in their sport and their choice of career should not be punished because you want to be Mr. Oh, I'm not going to get it. I'm healthy as an ox. It doesn't matter if you're healthy or not healthy. It will take you down.
Well, I got a question to kind of go off of one of your comments you made. You know how the Marlins have so many players and staff members infected right now.
I think it's a total of 12.
Is it 12? Okay.
Yeah. I think it's 2 coaches and the rest players.
Okay, so behind them, though, you have a AAA team and a AA team and a single A team that could be brought up during the season at any time. Why aren't we seeing more of that being talked about? Say, hey, let's go to our farm teams and bring those players in while these guys are on quarantine, while these guys are doing even if they get kicked out, here's what they should do. If you cross the imaginary line of the bubble, because you can't understand.
They don't have a bubble in baseball. That's the problem.
Okay. Well, that's
you're absolutely right. I think if Major League Baseball are taking a page out of the NBA's book, so you know what, these guys need to be quarantined. They're going to be away from their family, but they're going to have to be quarantined if we plan on having a season. The NBA, those very LeBron, Kyrie Irving, even older players, again, talking veterans who have grown up around the NBA, in the NBA, whether their family was in the NBA, their dad, their brother, uncle, whoever it was. These guys clearly know what they have to do in order to stay safe. You have veterans telling these young guys, saying, look, you can't do this. You cannot be that guy. Don't be that guy. We want a season. Whether or not the Major League Baseball could have put a bubble in place in order to keep them safe and sound remains to be seen, and obviously too late because it's way after the fact for that one. However, to your point, when you're talking about bringing up, minors and AAA, players and things of that nature, and all due respect to where these guys are currently at right now in those respective systems, they're just not that good. If they were that good, they would have already been there.
And I'm not disagreeing with that, but to have the season, you have to have players. And if certain players don't want to abide by the rules that they should be, regardless if there's a bubble or not, that, like you said, the veterans are telling them, don't do this, you need to do this. If they can't listen, maybe these younger guys or veterans in the minor leagues can step up and play. But it doesn't necessarily. It's entertainment now. We have zero sports. We have very minimal sports right now. Okay, this is the problem with the MLB and why they are not America's pastime anymore, is because, like you guys said, they should have been on the front run of this. They had plenty of time and opportunity to, and they dropped the ball, Rudy. I mean, like you said, they dropped the ball literally. And now I see this Florida Marlins deal potentially dropping another ball and putting a sour look on the Major League Baseball yet again. This kind of feels like early 90s.
Well, I'll look at it like this. One, baseball has a different look on their commissioner other than the other two major leagues. Adam Silva was a follower of David Stern, who brought in iron fist, stability, control, and organization. Roger Goodell, as dumb as he may be at times, he still has the fear of the players. If he says something, it's going to be done. The same way Adam Silver. Those players know that this man is going to get things done for you and against you if you're on the bad side. But with Manfred, man, they got no respect for this guy. These players do whatever the hell they want to do. That's how I look at it. So until he gets control, he's going to always be following behind. He does more cleanup than he does improving the game, unlike the other two commissioners.
Well, to your point, and in all fairness to Roger Goodell, he's a little bit more reactive than I think he is proactive, and that could always serve up a dish very cold in a way that you really don't want it served. Hot food should be served hot. Cold food should be served cold. No one wants a cold dish that's designed to be hot. And right now, NBA is hot. You're talking about Adam Silver, how he had taken over for the late great David Stern. David Stern brought nothing but innovation as a part of the NBA franchise. And Adam Silver, when you decide to retire, when you call it a day, when it's done, you're 2 sheets to the wind, everything's done and over with, and you did everything you possibly could within your power to help make sure that your players, your organization, these owners, the Spurs, Lakers, Maverick, Clippers, take your pick, that they are all on the same page when it comes to player safety, when it comes to recognizing the progressive moves that each individual team could make, making suggestions as to fan experiences, growth within your own brand, marketing within your own brand. David Stern was an absolute genius. I don't think anybody gives him as much credit as he deserves. But with that being said, Adam Silver's done some pretty cool things as well. Don't forget that band that these players are playing with right now are designed to keep them within reach. If their temperature gets out of control, this ring is designed to flag the officials, to flag the NBA office. So you know what? This guy's off the grid. This guy he's got COVID problems. He's got temperature issues. He's having breathing problems. His pulse is way too high.
He went to Texas Roadhouse.
Clubs. I mean, whoever Lou Williams is or isn't, he decided to violate the rules. And oddly enough, for Lou Williams, it was something that came back to bite Doc Rivers in the behind when he all he wanted to do was narc off all these players, but yet he didn't narc off his own player. But that's another story for another time. However, Adam Silver did everything right in regards to this. He was the forefront. He was the front runner. And fortunately enough for the NBA as an organization has done more for communities, has done more for families, has done more to help equalize the balance between hiring women and men in upper positions. You got to look at all of that, the whole body of work. And Adam Silver is not done. He is far from done. Roger Goodell could take a page out of his book. And of course, Rob Manfred probably just needs to be fired and call it a day.
Yeah.
But again, you have to have someone in position to understand the progression of the professional sports league that you are in to help develop your organization further. I don't know of anybody off the top of my head that can run Major League Baseball. That's got to be a daunting task. So kudos to Manfred for finally being able to kind of wrap his head around what's really going on during negotiations. And of course, with that late announcement on Major League Baseball Network to say, you know what, we're aware of it. We're going to do what we got to do. But they kind of dropped the ball in the sense of they should have said something in advance. Manfred should have an immediate press conference from the confines of his own living room. I mean, Roger Goodell did it from his basement and went through the entire draft.
Right.
If Roger Goodell could do that, then I'm pretty sure Rob Manfred could do the very same exact thing. And it's not like I'm trying to compare the two because, you know, it's like the whole George Carlin comparing, you know, baseball and football. If you haven't heard it, go check it out. You know, baseball, when do we go home? I don't know. When do we go? We're going to stay here. We're going to play macrame. You know, football it's, on the gridiron, you know, 4th and inches. You know, you just go through an entire motion set between the two, and the parallels could not be any different. But I think that that's where the rubber needs to meet the road when you talk about these organizations that need to be on the same page and should have a commissioners conference and ultimately someone to help moderate all of this so that way they can learn from one another. They can teach one another. They can understand the pitfalls, the goods, the bads, the uglies, and, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that kind of moments to where all these leagues can grow along with the players.
Well, I think that's what the NBA does. You know what I mean? I think the NBA pretty much sets the standard or the pattern and everybody else follows, so to speak. One thing with the baseball, I'd like to know how many players were affected in the Korean baseball, because they seem to be having, I don't know if they were in a bubble or not, but they seem to be going on with their season quite well. I'm not really hearing a whole bunch of positive tests coming out that league. So one would think that Manford and his staff would have been paying attention to what the Korean Baseball League was doing to maybe try to modern their things kind of how they should, somewhat like how the NBA did. And with the Disney complex, because they threw the guinea pig out there with MLS, the Major League Soccer. They threw the bubble guinea pig out there with them, and that stuff was working very well. So that allowed them to develop new technology, develop other stuff where they can bring in a real moneymaker with the NBA and the WNBA. And this is what you got. I mean, they have 0 positive tests inside the bubble.
You know, when you're talking about the Japanese and how they've been so progressive about all of this and making the right decisions, doing the right things, and being able to have fans within their stadiums, respectfully, they've gone about this the very way that the NBA probably should have done it when Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell found out that they had it. They should have shut everything down immediately, closed it, ceased fire, duck and cover, whatever it may be. But unfortunately, it was already too late because at that point, other teams had already played the Utah Jazz. So it just kind of makes you wonder, did they drop the ball a little bit? Who didn't? Who did? There's not really a matter of pointing fingers right now. I think it's just a matter of finding a solution. NFL's uncovering tons of rookies right now. I don't even know what the list is going to be, 12 or 15 players that are rookies that have found out to be asymptomatic for COVID. So again, you have to filter these things out and go about things the right way in order to achieve and produce the results of being able to have a successful, even though it may not actually come to fruition, football season. But baseball, 60 plus games, including postseason, I nailed it. I even called it. I even spot on it with someone who completely refuted it on Twitter, stating that there's going to be about 60 games. I don't see anything more. I don't see anything less. 60 games in the regular season. Of course, you got the postseason, and sure enough, that's exactly what happened.
Look at you.
So speaking of the postseason, before we jump out of baseball, speaking of the postseason, so what do you feel about this new format? You know what I mean? Do you think this is an experimental format to something they might explore later on? Or is this just a one-time deal, for the shortened season with this 8 teams on both sides now?
I think it could be a little bit of both when you look at what they're, we were talking about the DH earlier. We were talking about the shift earlier. A lot of experimental things really go into, of course, having that runner at second during any extra inning after the 9th inning. I think this is more of a speculation in regards to how good it will work in a truncated season. I don't foresee this unless it becomes a huge success in some way, shape, or form to expand because of the truncated season, right? So you have to be able to offset not having 128 games or 118 games. You have to be able to offset that. And how do you offset that? You open up the playing field a little bit wider, a little bit deeper. And when you have that capability, that means you're going to have more teams to play. You're going to have a better opportunity to see teams who otherwise you would have never thought get to that point to even battle for a pennant. And everybody wants to talk about this world champion. World champions go an entire season. We don't have an entire season. This is going to be probably the shortest baseball season known to mankind. Are we really going to find out who is the ultimate, the actual pennant winner? Yeah, to be honest with you, you won in the COVID era. Next. But does that take away from your 60, now less than 60 games, obviously, including postseason play in baseball? But does that really show the backbone of your organization, of your team, your mindset? That remains to be seen. I'd really like to see this kind of play out and see what positivities come from this playoff format. And if in fact it does yield very good results, and the Pirates, for some reason, some act of God, they find themselves in the postseason, then you clearly know that there's something to be said for the current format. And will it work? If it doesn't work, then they're going to go from scratch and start all over.
Yeah, I don't know, man. One, I think people get flooded with too much baseball. 162 games. That's a lot of games. I'd like them to cut it down to like say 120 games, and then extend the postseason. You know what I mean? Give them the extra teams in the postseason. But I just think people get. I'm not really feeling the 162 games. I'm definitely not feeling a contract worth $438 million. Definitely not feeling that. Well, at least
I'm
not
not
for
either,
me.
but I
For
think those
him,
guys are going to complain a whole lot getting paid an exuberant amount of money if you're guys like Mookie Betts. But again, keeping his contract into perspective, he's not going to get all that money up front. He's going to have to be there for about 12 years at least before he sees any of that extra money. But to be honest with you, when you become a runner-up time and time again, or you're most valuable player in the National League, that doesn't happen by accident. That doesn't happen because of a coin flip. It doesn't happen because somebody miscalled a coin flip at the beginning of a game. That happens because you're stellar in various ways. Your speed, because speed kills in Major League Baseball. I don't care who you are or what position you are in, whether you're in the outfield or whether you're the pitcher. You can throw smoke 120 consistently for inning after inning after inning. You deserve whatever awards you get. If you don't and you flounder and you flubber and you make all types of defensive issues and problems, whether you're a shortstop or an outfielder, you don't deserve anything. At least you're playing and you're getting paid to do it. So no whining or crying in baseball. Last thing I heard from Tom Hanks.
I remember that.
Favorite baseball movie ever.
Right.
I know. Next to The Natural. I love The Natural.
So I got one last question on baseball. Well, I know you're saying it's a shortened season. It doesn't matter. Move on. But who you picking?
Yes.
I can't.
World
I
Series.
can't
World Series pay right now.
I can't.
If you had to put your life savings on one or on two teams to play each other in the World Series, who would you put?
I'd have to go with you know what? I'm going to call it back-to-back for the Nats.
Ooh. Over who?
Shortened season, less time for injuries, more time to get these guys, whoever's on a 10-day DL, whether it's Max Scherzer or anyone else on that roster, to get nice and healthy and ready to rock and roll. I think the Nationals, if Scherzer gets healthy and starts throwing the way that he did last year, don't forget they didn't get hot till the half part after the All-Star break. And when they got hot, boy, were they smoking. Are you kidding me?
They went on a hell of a roll.
They went on a heck of a roll. Now, with that, there were a lot of key injuries. They still dealt with the injury bug, and then every single Major League Baseball team is going to run into that. But they just got onto a roll in such a way that just made them nearly unbeatable. And I think that if they keep that kind of chemistry, keeping guys, of course, you're not able to keep everybody every single year. That's just the way it is. That's just reality in Major League Baseball or in sports for that matter. You see guys leaving free agency all the time in the NFL. But I think more importantly, the Nationals can really get back to this and maybe pull off a doubleheader. If they can do that and go back to back, that'd be the first time that's been done in, I'd say, the last 15, 20 years or greater for that matter.
Didn't the Red Sox do it
No.
back in? They didn't. Okay. There was a year in between.
Every other year. They went every other year.
Okay.
So
the last time to do it was Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
Wow. And that was, hell, we're talking 93, 94, 94, 95.
Yeah, that's the David Justice era.
Yep.
It sure is.
Chipper
Greg
Jones.
Maddox.
Yeah.
Yep.
David Justice was a beast. he went on a tear of terrors, but I think the Nationals could probably win it all again.
All right.
But it's a
good
long
shot.
season. Not as long as 168 games, but it's still a long season. Especially you're a baseball fan, you relish every single pitch, every single moment that you get to watch these guys play on the field.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll watch because I'm supposed to.
Wow.
That's what I'm at.
No one's gonna put baby in the corner.
So, hey, let's jump over before we get done here, before we let you go. Let's jump over here to some NBA, WNBA. So, the WNBA, they actually started their season, not restarted. They started their season over the weekend. And The NBA restarts the ending of their season on Thursday. But we were kind of talking, mixing in a little baseball talking to this. We were kind of talking about, players opting out and for various reasons, social justice, COVID issues. The story that came out last week that I don't think people are really talking about enough. It was like a 2-day conversation with Elena Deladon. You know what I mean? She opted out. She requested to opt out of the season for health reasons, and they denied her. So then she comes out and lets everybody know what her health reasons are, which she has Lyme disease. And it showed a picture that she takes 64 pills every day to battle this disease. The problem is they'll let her opt out, but you're not going to get paid for it. I have a problem with that. And I think that more people should have a problem with that.
Well, I think they did come back and say, though, didn't they? They did.
I missed it.
I believe so. They did. Like 2 days later, they finally came back and said, well, she was paid. But yeah, I mean, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but the initial thought should be pay the woman regardless, because she does have this medical condition that can really put her life in jeopardy when it comes to this COVID deal. And,
plus she's the reigning MVP.
That's the face of the WNBA. So,
well, you have to put this. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but these WNBA women that have done so much to help women discover who they are in the game of sports, especially you're talking about basketball. I mean, some girls dream of playing in the WNBA. We can think of Gianna Bryant, who never had the opportunity, never will have the opportunity to play in the WNBA. More importantly, she had every single ounce of effort, love, and attention and capabilities of being able to play in the WNBA. And due to untimely death, along with plenty of other people on the plane, including the late great Kobe Bryant, it just kind of stands to reason. If you're running into certain medical conditions and certain medical situations that disable you from being able to play a regular game on the floor due to COVID, and they don't include that and opt out, just like the NBA did, just like Major League Baseball did, just like the NFL did, they're doing a great disservice. People like Elena Deladon, I mean, come on. How can you not have an opt-out clause for women who are trying to make a name for themselves to encourage other women and young girls to play the game of basketball, something that they love to do? This is sending the wrong message, stating that even though you have underlying medical conditions, you have no business opting out, being able to opt out. That in itself is a huge problem. And it's going to become a little bit more problematic, because you're going to see players do the very same thing. They're going to drop out because they don't want to be a part of the organization to whatever extent, because their health is first. Everybody's health is first when it comes to this COVID-19 situation. I don't think the WNBA is getting that right now. I don't think they're even looking at that as being a possibility. And to add salt to injury, women like her, if they continue to opt out, there's, again, going back to the Major League Baseball scenario, we're going to have guys in AAA and in the minors, and you're going to have to call them up to do it. She's not just an everyday person you just replace off the street. You're not going to be able to just find someone to do the work and perform the body of work that she's done for so long. It's just going to be impossible. You're going to find yourself being a shell of an organization. And furthermore, you're not going to be able to have these MVPs. What most valuable player? Well, who's that? Most valuable organization, allowing these players to do what they have to do and what they want to do and what they love to do. There should be an opt-out clause. I think players are really being disserviced right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, from what you said, Dan, I'll probably have to go back and, fact check myself, because I haven't heard. Plus, I went off the grid over the weekend. So I can tell you missed out on some things.
Yeah,
I did watch the UFC fights though. But
you're not standing on the edge of disappointment. I guess you're doing okay.
Right. All right, so let's get into some actual basketball. I mean, NBA starts
finally.
NBA starts Thursday. Now, I mean, we've seen some of these scrimmage games. I've watched pretty much every single one of these scrimmage games. who looks good? Well, no, the question is who looks like that they were underground practicing in a facility in a mountain somewhere with their teammates? Because the Lakers look like they've been working out at LeBron's house.
Yeah, right now scrimmage doesn't look very good for the LA Lakers. I mean, they lost to the Nets. The Nets. Wait, did I say the Nets? Yes, the Nets. I just can't believe I actually just said that. Came out of my mouth. I almost wanted to throw up in my own mouth when I said that. But no, seriously, there's
we'll say that LeBron and AD did not even dress the second half. He had the Michael Jordan choker chain on.
Yeah, and someone else was actually holding the leash. But anyway, I mean, there's really a lot to love here, a lot to take away from scrimmage games, and of course, this is a very odd scenario, the odd situation that you find yourself in if you're a professional sports organization trying to find a way to recoup, to be that team that will get you to the mountain. And unfortunately, in a lot of these cases, teams, it's almost as if you're going to take a pitcher who's hot and you're just going to sit. So you know what? You're going to sit in the dugout. So now all these strikes, all this hotness, all this fluidity, the ball coming off of his hands just looks like absolute magic, and still screaming 90+ miles an hour, whether it's a curveball on the inside, the outside, getting someone to swing. The NBA and the teams that are within that are just playing cold. They're just playing cold right now, cold like ice with bergs hanging off their chin, because nobody's really kind of motivating me to watch anything at all other than maybe the Denver Nuggets. Denver Nuggets has Bull. And it just seems, I mean, the guy could play both ends. I mean, he could play a basketball game against himself, but we don't know who would actually win that game. Bull is just super exciting to really watch. And then they have the Joker. So the Joker is a wild card guy who just shows up every single game. We've seen him last year, if you guys have watched any Nuggets games whatsoever, but of course, living in Denver and now back in California, it was all Nuggets all the time. Broncos, kind of took a back seat to the Denver Nuggets because Denver Nuggets were in playoff contention, clearly, obviously, due to COVID shutting things down. But right now, I don't really think anybody kind of stands out to me right now. There's a lot of discussion as to who's going to be there at the end of the day. What are the odds? What are the betting favorites? Things of that nature. Don't forget this is kind of, again, we could be playing a truncated season, especially with COVID acting and rearing its ugly head in ways that we didn't really expect it to. Again, it does not discriminate. So I just want to make sure I make that very abundantly clear, that now in this restart session, you're going to have the Lakers in a crosstown rivalry with the LA Clippers. That's probably going to happen in the next set of games. Right now, I'm not a fan of this indoor fanless arena in Orlando. I'm not, but I have to keep it in perspective and recognize that these guys are playing for their playoff lives. They're trying to keep things back on track, on schedule. This is a different environment. This is not something they're accustomed to playing in. But more importantly, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And right now, the teams are just trying to get to that finish line, whatever that finish line is, or whatever that's going to look like. You're going to have the two best teams in the NBA really kind of take shape and really grab hold of the reins as the season continues on. And of course, when you look at the 27th, which is today, you got the Grizzlies in Miami. That game already played. Raptors, Suns, Spurs, Pacers, Thunder, Blazers, Celtics, Rockets, Mavericks, and Philadelphia. Your late time game. All times are Eastern, of course. But if there was a team that I'd like to pick right now to maybe take it all the way, to go all the way down to win the NBA,
roll, please.
It's not the Houston Rockets because they don't know how to play defense. D'Antoni.
44 dribbles by your point guard in one possession.
Yeah, basically, it's like who's gonna wait defense? How do you spell that again? I don't think they really have a grip on that. Celtics always look good. They always are in the conversation, always in the mix. as to where they're going to be. 76ers haven't really been a whole lot to
That's
speak
my
of.
sleeper team this year.
Now,
Sleeper.
I said that before.
now,
I said that before.
Now that Ben Simmons seems to be back on track, but
He might hit a three.
Yeah, he turned it into a 3-point scorer. What do you know? Why do you think they drafted the guy? Couldn't hit a three to save his life just 2 years ago. But I think 76ers are finding their way out of the Mystic Sea, if you will. But again, no one really stands out to me right now. I'm going to have to go with the Lakers, maybe Lakers 76ers for your NBA Finals.
And the 76ers upsetting the Lakers, right?
No, not exactly.
I do have a question.
But again, Western Conference, we skipped over Western Conference. Milwaukee Bucks are making a perfectly solid argument with Giannis being called the runner-up or the pure defined winner, depending on what side of the equator you're on, whether you're a Milwaukee Bucks fan or Giannis fan or LeBron, who's won this MVP consistently on the Western side of the hemisphere. So who's going to pick MVP? I got to go with my man LeBron James on this, and I give him a slight edge. And I take nothing away from Giannis and the fact that he's a scorer at will. He's muscular. He's younger. He can get inside of the paint. He could dominate. He's shown it. He's done it time and time again. But when you measure him up against the King, how many rings does it take? Ask LeBron James, because he's got them and Giannis does not. So it's a young season. We're going to find out who's going to win the win, but I think Lakers end up taking out the Bucks in a Western Conference final match.
Okay, so Damon, hold on here. Hold on. This has been an ongoing debate on our show and on many others. The use of the name in basketball, a two-way player. I cannot stand it myself because when you're on the basketball court, you play both offense and defense. There should be no such thing as a two-way player. Rudy, I want to hear your thoughts on that.
A two-way player was Deion Sanders.
Exactly. There was a team of offense out on the field. You played on that team, then a new team on defense, and you played on that team. I do not see how anybody in the NBA or any type of basketball can be considered a two-way player. Go.
You're by default a two-way player the minute you step on the hardwood. End of story. It's a little bit different when you're on the gridiron. Why? Because guys like Charles Woodson, who had received a couple passes as a defensive guy, turned into a wide receiver on the outside. That's right. Heisman Trophy poll. But the last defensive player to win the MVP, by the way, or Heisman Trophy, excuse me. But I think more importantly, when you look at he's from Michigan. But more importantly, when you look at a solid two-way player, it's a guy that can get it done on both ends of the court. And I know it's too early. I was talking about Bol earlier for the Denver Nuggets. Bol is one of those guys. You may not like the term, but the reality of the term comes to fruition when someone can actually pull it off and make it a name, right? Because guys throughout NBA history have made rules, made stats actually count because they were that good, because they were able to get things done. Triple-double? Who the heck? Before 1965, nobody even knew what a triple-double was. They thought it was a hamburger they got from their local hamburger joint down the street. Triple-doubles came into play because players put that there. They made that what it is. So a great two-way player would be a guy who's great offensively and great defensively, who can snag the ball, climb up, be the shot blocker. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar reminds me of a solid two-way player. A guy scored more points, not really talked about a whole lot.
But then again, back then, everybody was a two-way player because they played the whole court. Not like now where you have, it kind of started in the Shaq era when at first you didn't see his defense. Well, people that watch the game, you've seen his defense. People who, I should say, casual spectators of the game didn't see anything but him dunking and this, that, and the other,
That's what they show. They don't show block shots. They show dunks.
Well, I'm saying, look, Cookie Monster, don't get just because he's on the Lakers doesn't mean you get offensive.
That was Orlando.
At that time, it was. I just don't understand why anybody comes out with the name two-way player, because like you said, when you step on the hardwood, you play both sides.
You play both sides, but you have to be an elite player on both ends of the court. You can't just believe in offense and have no D. You can't do it. There's no way. There's no way. This is not a defense wins championships moniker that's played in the NFL lores. There's no way. You have to do it on both ends of the court. That's what makes a solid two-way player. They're not being actual stat for it. They're not being an actual title for it. No one's going to win an award for it. But by default, because you're on the floor, you have to
never know. That name, that MVP, the two-way MVP may come out.
it could happen. They call it the I'm more of a fan of the Sixth Man of the Year award, to be quite honest with you. That's what I like. That's what I look at. The guy, the Robert Ory, the D Fish, the Scottie Pippen to your Michael Jordan, those guys, those are the six men. Those are the guys that are the perennial backbone to any NBA team. I don't care who it is. You have to have the difference maker, and it starts with the sixth man. And that's why that award is so popular. Could there be a best two-way player in NBA history? Yeah, maybe within the next 5 or 10 years. Who knows? We'll see.
But they're not giving the credit, like even with the triple-double. They're not giving the credit to the players that played before. If you want to define the two-way player as that, Jordan was a two-way player. Kareem was a two-way player. Scottie Pippen was a two-way player. Patrick Ewing was a two-way player. You know what I mean? Yeah, so you can just go back and change all of history. Michael Jordan was elite on both sides. First team of offense and defense.
Right.
Scottie Pippen, first team of offense and defense.
We're superiorly elite compared to the competition, the level competition they played against in their time. Not many.
Patrick Ewing was elite on defense and offense. You might not like the guy. I didn't, but he was elite on offense and defense.
And again, his level of competition was who? Who?
David Robinson, Akeem Olajuwon,
I believe Rudy's saying
Alonzo Mourning, Shaquille O'Neal.
That time of NBA is not relevant.
Bigs were bigs. Bigs were bigs back then. You played against those guys. You know what I mean? Akeem wasn't shooting 40-foot three-pointers. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
think about this. You have one person who's winning, who's scoring all. Michael Jordan said it himself. It's not the amount of shots that you miss. It's the ones that you make. It's the ones that you make. If you don't take the shot, how do you know it's going to go in? There's no way the Bulls would have won back-to-back championships if Jordan didn't have a Pippen, if there wasn't someone to back up Pippen. Pippen's not really talked about in Chicago lore as much as he should be, in my honest and professional opinion. But I think that when these guys get overlooked, if you don't win championships, regardless of how solid of a player you are, all it is an award for you. It's not an award for your team. It's not an award for your franchise. It's not an award that is going to stand out to you other than sitting and collecting dust on your mantle. That's it. That's all it is. Without the rings to justify all that hard work putting and being the best two-way player on the floor, means nothing. Means nothing. You'll get overlooked, get into Cooperstown or the walls of Canton or where the NBA decides, wherever they put those guys at, in order to give them a definitive lifelong look in regards to what their career meant to people who watched them, the fans, the organization, the players that they played on. No one's going to remember somebody who didn't win a championship. Nobody remembers number two. You can remember their individual efforts, but as a team collectively, no one's going to remember number two. How many championships did the Utah Jazz win? None. You're going to remember Karl Malone? You're going to remember the mailman who delivered every single night? No, you're not.
I remember the mailman because he was a wrestler.
Not there.
Yeah.
I mean, something that you were talking about earlier, Dan, your sleeper, Sixers. I got the Sixers on the outside, and I got Portland on the outside. But I got both of them as my sleepers because both of them are returning their whole teams healthy. Before the stoppage, both of those teams were limping into the playoffs. Sixers were going to finish a little higher, maybe win the first round, but the absence of Ben Simmons was going to be apparent because they were not going to have him. With Portland, Nurkic, and Collins, you weren't going to have them. But with the COVID, you get all of those guys back. Ben looked like he done put on 30 pounds of solid muscle. They got him starting at the power forward, even though he's still playing point guard role. You know what I mean? The Sixers, they look good. They look good. And the same thing with Portland. You getting those guys back, and you got these scrimmage games, and you got these 8 games to get this quick gel. It's not something that you have to go the whole season. This atmosphere is an AAU style atmosphere. So the guys who can adjust to that the fastest, the teams that can adjust to that the fastest are going to be the ones that you're going to see at the end.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not disagreeing with you.
And I mean,
Yeah,
and I agree with you.
I got nothing.
Go ahead. And I mean, and I
got nothing. I
agree
already
with
said it
you.
all.
I agree with you on LeBron for MVP. Most of the time, I think LeBron should win MVP every year because of the things that he does. If you take LeBron off the Lakers, even with Anthony Davis, with their current roster, they are not a playoff team. Maybe 8, competing at the 9th spot. And then you place, and what makes me an MVP category, you can take them off a team and you can put them anywhere else with any other team, and they will be in the same position that they are in. We've seen LeBron do it with a very subpar Cleveland team twice. You take them to the dance. You know what I mean? You might not want it, but you got them there. Now, you give him these weapons like this, I think, and now Giannis, he's having a fantastic season. I mean, his numbers, MVP, the best season this particular year. But what LeBron brings to the floor to a team with leadership, production at 35 years old, hey, man, that's my guy. And I'm not like the biggest LeBron fan anyway. I'm a Kobe guy, so.
You know, I definitely appreciate LeBron James' body of work. I remember he was with Miami, and then that whole shift to J.R. Smith. J.R. Smith is a LA Laker, which I'm not really a fan of, but it is what it is. But what I don't want to see is J.R. Smith throwing the ball out of bounds to someone he thought was there, almost like a Sam Darnold thought he'd seen ghosts on the field. I think J.R. Smith saw some ghosts on that on the sideline right there. He threw that ball away, where LeBron's like, "What are you doing? Why are you throwing the ball?" And that's what I don't want to see for the LA Lakers. What I'd like to see is that the same type of chemistry that we watched prior to COVID kind of shutting things down on a temporary basis. I'm glad I'm saying temporary, not permanently, because those two words have two completely different meanings. And it's not something I even want to talk about. The fact that they're playing, doing what they got to do, certainly is the talk of the town, other than that other LA team. Well, who are they again?
Doc Clippers?
So, I need to shave my head with Clippers. Sorry, that's right. I
will make an asterisk real quick. Strip club wings are absolutely outstanding. You know what I mean? We got a club here, dancers, their lunch buffet. Oh my God, it's amazing. Okay, go ahead, back to it.
I'm more than confident that they have the spread there in the bubble, so you can call it the bubble spread. Maybe bubble spread. Oh.
Oh yes,
that's good.
So the spread of spreads, just so you guys know, just in case you were wondering, the NFL draft has by far the best spread you're going to find for food, drinks you cannot want at that table. There's everything: boneless wings, pizza, pasta, you name it, it's there. It's there, just so you know.
Awesome.
You know, when you get invited, you can bring 2 guests, right? And here we are.
You never know. If you guys are up for the interview, you're up for the daunting task of being there for hours and hours and hours on end into the 6th round on the 3rd day.
I think I could sacrifice a good 5 to 6 days out of my year at least one time.
Yep, I did too.
One. I can give you one.
One day. That's all we got.
I need room. It's too many big guys in one area. I mean, I feel like I need to compete and get back up.
I'm gonna have to pump up the chest and kind of like, yeah, I got this. But no, guys, it's been fantastic. Thank you for having me on. It's definitely been enlightening, and I definitely appreciate the time and talking to you about everything that's going on in sports, at least for what we know is sports and what we know will be an actual season. The NFL certainly will be the tail of the tape in regards to what Roger Goodell does with all these rookies. And not that they have a whole lot of time left, because they don't. Rookies are supposed to show up to training camp already. So certainly going to keep my eye out on that one. Of course, you guys can always find me on Twitter at RudeDogReyes. You can always go to the RudeDogShow.com. Look at some fantastic interviews with a lot of great guys. Mike Daniel's still a free agent. Why, I don't know. Comes out of Packerland. And Charles Woodson. I'll have Jack Hartman on of the Pirates. I have over 7 years of interviews ranging from Sinbad to Al Bernstein to Seth Joyner, Coach Mike Ditka. The list just goes on and on and on. So yeah.
I know I heard that one name. That one name really stuck out to me.
I wonder which one that is.
Yeah. No,
Jaws right here. Thanks.
Yeah. Rudy, we appreciate you coming on, man. Damon, do you have anything else before we sign off?
I'm good. I'm good. It's been a pleasure. I love talking to a fellow fan of one of my teams. It's pretty awesome. I love talking to you Southern California guys. I don't know. I mean, y'all a different type of guy, but I love y'all.
Different in a good way. Different in a good way.
Right.
Different in a good way. You know what I mean? But yeah, I can't handle that. You know what I mean? It's too hot.
That's about $1.02 right now.
Woo! It was like 96 here today, but the humidity here is what really sucks. At least you guys have somewhat of a Pacific Coast breeze. We have
breeze in the valley, man.
We have nothing. Okay,
hot is hot. I mean, they say this crap that it's a dry heat. Oven is hot.
Right here. Definitely dry.
And when you're above 40,
I know about all that East Coast stuff. I've been to Philly, and I'll tell you what, I'm not a fan of Geno's, and I'm not a fan of Pat's. I'm a fan of that one guy at the end of the corner that's got one of those cheesesteaks with my name written all over it.
Those are probably the best ones in town too, aren't they?
Those are the best ones you're going to find, because all this talk about who's better, Geno or Pat's, none.
Neither one of them. You got to go to the one on the corner.
Bobby.
You got to go to the one on the corner that's got the 4-inch thick bulletproof glass that you got to grab your sandwich underneath.
Oh man, Rudy, it's been a blast. Thank you again. Check out the Rude Dog Show. Rudy Reyes, the owner of Rude Dog Entertainment and the host of the Rude Dog Show. Rudy, thank you again. And we would be glad to invade your show one of these times.
Sure, absolutely. I definitely encourage the tomfoolery as I've been known to have on my show. So thanks a lot, guys. I definitely appreciate your time. And I have to sneak this in. Go Steelers.
We'll edit it out afterwards. Don't worry.
you know.
Man,
because
you know.
I can count right here. Okay.
5 in the nub. 5 in the nub.
For the thumb. Or as one famous Steeler did on the sideline, he says, "I'm taking the bus to Detroit." James Ferrier. There was like, who? What? James Ferrier?
I know the name. I could care less though.
I know you don't.
He's
Tough guy.
just a
Hey,
hater.
thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, we'll definitely schedule time, have you come on the Rude Dog Show, and we'll definitely chop it up and see what's going on in the world of sports.
Sounds good, man. You
Sounds
enjoy
good.
the rest of your evening, and we will be talking to you soon.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Say
Take care. Thanks.
Namaste.
Well, there you have it for Taco Tuesday. That guy right there, he's the one. This guy right here, not dancing, he's the ass. Together, we are Black and White Sports. As always, you got to give him the shoulders. COVID-19, COVID-19, COVID-19. Powered by First Financial Bank, Mr. John Wayne Buzzard, 317-417-8582, or email him at John.buzzard at bankfirst.com for all your banking needs. And our Rockstar Realtor himself, Mr. Shawn.nugent, over at Talk to Tucker. Call him 317-503-8322 or email him shawn.nugent at talktotucker.com. Damon, as always, what do we do?
You know that little thing that's on the side of the road with the air in it? We keep Indy sporty, baby.
Pew, pew! Peace!
Hey!